I always believed loyalty was everything, especially when it came to family. That belief crumbled the night I saw my wife in the arms of my own brother. My name is James. I'm 38 years old, and this is the story of how I was betrayed by the two people I loved most, and how I took back everything they tried to steal from me. Eric and I were born 2 years apart. While I worked hard to earn respect, he seemed to have everything handed to him. Our father ran a successful real estate business and made it no secret who his favorite was. Eric got the attention, the praise, and eventually, the keys to the company. I got polite nods and was told to stay in your lane. Still, I stayed loyal. I married Sarah, the love of my life from college. We bought a modest home, and I worked quietly behind the scenes of the family business, managing accounts and systems no one else understood. I didn't care about titles. I just wanted a stable life with the woman I loved. But over time, things started to feel off. Sarah grew distant. She spent more time at Eric's corporate events than with me. I blamed stress, work, anything but her, or him, because who would suspect their own brother? One Friday, I came home early from a canceled client meeting. I wasn't expecting to find Sarah gone. Her phone rang on the kitchen counter, Eric's name flashing on the screen. I knew the passcode. I wish I hadn't. The texts were recent, vivid, and unmistakably intimate. I stood there, frozen, the blood in my veins turning to ice. My brother, my wife, behind my back, in my house. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. I simply closed the phone, packed a bag, and left. That weekend I vanished, but not to fall apart. Instead, I made calls, I met with lawyers, and I accessed systems Eric had long forgotten I built. You see, while Eric was the face of the business, I was the skeleton. The code, the numbers, the structure. It all had my fingerprints on it. They thought I was out of the picture, but I had just stepped into the shadows. I moved into a small rental apartment on the other side of town. Plain walls, second-hand furniture, and blessed anonymity. No one knew me there. No one expected anything, and that's exactly what I needed. From that room, I rebuilt. The first thing I did was take stock of every digital footprint Eric had carelessly left behind. Emails, spreadsheets, security protocols, all stored in a cloud system I helped design. He may have reset passwords, but he never disabled the back door I had quietly built for maintenance. I didn't touch a thing. Not yet. I just watched, and what I saw made my blood boil. Eric wasn't just with Sarah. He was planning a future with her. Vacation bookings, house viewings, even wedding venue websites. And all the while, he was draining money from the company's legacy account, the one our father had built before he passed. It was supposed to be protected. I took screenshots, backed up every file, time-stamped everything. Meanwhile, Sarah reached out, first with a casual text, "Are you okay?" Then another, "Let's talk." I never responded. Instead, I sent her a simple email, no subject, just one line, "You'll hear from my lawyer before you hear from me." Then I started planning the rest. Eric had always relied on others to execute his vision. I was the executor. Without me, he was just a man in a suit with a golden last name. And now, he had no idea that I was quietly laying the groundwork to dismantle everything he thought he controlled. I reached out to two people I trusted, Carla, an old friend from accounting, and Dean, our former IT lead. They didn't like Eric, and, more importantly, they still respected me. I told them nothing at first, just asked about their current contracts, their NDAs, and if they'd be willing to take a risk. Both said yes. The trap was being built, not out of rage, out of justice, and I had every intention of watching it close. Carla and Dean became my eyes and ears inside the company. Every meeting Eric held, every transaction he tried to hide, they documented, quietly, carefully. We weren't looking for revenge. We were building a record. Through Carla, I learned Eric had been planning to shift assets into a shell company under his name. Through Dean, I confirmed the financial system still carried code I had written, lines no one else fully understood. That would matter later. But I knew timing was everything. I filed for divorce. Sarah responded angrily, surprised I hadn't begged for answers. She tried calling again, left voicemails, some apologetic, some angry. I ignored them all. I was no longer playing defense. This was offense now. 2 weeks later, I initiated a system audit using a buried admin protocol. It triggered alerts Eric couldn't trace back to me, but enough to make him paranoid. He hired a third-party IT firm to secure the infrastructure. They failed to realize the trap. Dean uploaded a ghost script, an invisible process designed to mimic a critical failure. It didn't break anything. It just shook confidence. Meetings were rescheduled. Partners delayed contracts. Eric's charm began to crack. Then came the shareholders' meeting. I showed up in a suit, silent but prepared. Carla had legally reinstated me as a consultant through a proxy entity. Dean provided digital evidence of mismanagement, logs, transfers, inconsistencies. The board wasn't just surprised. They were furious. Eric stood frozen when he saw me. Sarah wasn't there. She had already been served. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply handed the chairwoman a flash drive. "Everything you need," I said. The vote was unanimous. Eric was out. And for the first time in years, silence felt like victory. After the board meeting, everything changed. I wasn't just back, I was in control. The media quickly picked up on Eric's removal. Headlines read like poetry. Family feud ends in corporate coup. But I didn't speak to reporters. I had more important things to rebuild. I returned to the company not as a wounded brother, but as a quiet force. My first move was to freeze all questionable accounts and initiate a forensic audit. Dean led the cyber investigation. Carla audited the books. What we uncovered was worse than expected. Eric had been bleeding the company dry for months. Lavish dinners, private trips, even a condo in Sarah's name. I presented the findings to the board and pushed for legal action. The company sued Eric for embezzlement. I didn't need revenge, this was justice, clean and on record. Sarah tried to fight the divorce, claiming manipulation, emotional distress, even temporary insanity. But the evidence was clear, and the judge wasn't moved. I kept the house, the car, and the retirement accounts. She walked away with nothing but her maiden name. One evening, weeks after the dust settled, I returned to the same kitchen where I had found her phone. It was quiet now, peaceful. I poured a glass of wine and stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I hadn't lost everything. They had. Because loyalty, once broken, doesn't heal. It transforms into wisdom, into strength, into resolve. I built something better in the ruins they left behind, and this time I was the only name on the foundation.